Okay guys, what we got here is pretty simple. There's an outlet on YouTube called I Spy Live Streams that gathered together like a whole myriad of live streams from all over the place covering what was going on in DC as well as Charlottesville for the Unite the Right 2. What's in this video is the DC coverage. It features Jason Kessler and a couple other of his idiot people he asked to give speeches. But basically what it is I ran their live stream, this I Spy live stream stuff, and ran my mouth over it and played a little music here and there. So it's about an hour long, and like I said, you get to hear from Kessler and the people he asked to come out and speak for this thing, which amounted to, at best, 10 people. So Unite the Right 2 in DC, at least, was 10 people. Everything I saw from Charlottesville was not really any fascists. They may have been there, I didn't see anything. What I saw both DC and Charlottesville was literally thousands of just, you know, everyday, normal citizens coming out and saying, fuck this fascism stuff. And there was a very solid and respectful Black Bloc presence in both towns. But like I said, this stream focuses primarily on what we've done in DC. And it's got a bunch of cool music and whatever, at least music I think is cool. Anyway, check it out. Cool.
While DeAndre Harris's friend grabbed a Confederate flag out of his hand, DeAndre Harris whacked an innocent protester across the face with the mag.
So he's talking about DeAndre Harris, who was brutally attacked by, what, 5, 6 guys with huge sticks and clubs and bats, and brutally beaten to an inch of his life. And so what Kessler's trying to do here is make him out to be the bad guy, because according to Kessler, he did something like tried to snatch a flag from someone earlier in the day, and that somehow, you know, sort of bolsters Trump's bullshit narrative about both sides, you know, good people, bad people, both sides. It's bullshit. A white man would be hung for something a black man. That is so astoundingly stupid. There's just never gonna be white lynchings.
DeAndre Harris's friend fired a flamethrower at a crowd of people. If I had done that, I would be in a penitentiary for the rest of my life. But he got disorderly conduct. He got a little slap on the wrist. And DeAndre Harris said, get that flag. And when Corey Long grabbed the flag out of the peaceful protesters' hands, DeAndre hit him across the head. I don't condone the violence that was done to DeAndre Harris, but I think he had a GoFundMe, and he did very well. Off of that, he got himself some new sneakers and a rap video. So good for him.
So he got some shoes and made a rap video, and that makes it okay that 5 people beat that man to an inch of his fucking life. And then the state tried to actually bring charges against him, which were ultimately dropped. But his life has been turned upside down and made miserable. But he got some shoes, so it's all good, right? It all evens out. It's all good in the wash, right? God, what a scumbag.
From New Orleans.
Oh, this guy's great. This civil rights activist, this disbarred lawyer is what this guy is. This is great. You guys are going to love this.
Tarnished and smeared. Mr. Lincoln is one of the few people like myself who's fighting back.
Who's a racist.
Lawsuits against the city of New Orleans and
based on racist shit.
Mayor Mitch Landrieu. So I'll allow him to talk about that. Mr. Charles Lincoln.
Jason, thank you so much for having me. I have
notice those resounding applause of the 3-4 people hanging out with Kessler.
I don't even know exactly where to start. I'm not used to speaking on a microphone. I'm sorry. But I guess first I need to apologize to every one of my former colleagues at Harvard and the University of Chicago and Tulane University who are undoubtedly very embarrassed to see me up here on this stage.
At least he's honest. He does owe them an apology. He is an embarrassment. Wait till you hear the crap he spews.
Enough to know that the vast majority of the power elite in this country is totally corrupt. And this is part of my agenda here today, is to talk about that total corruption that comes from the power elite based in the Ivy League, based at major universities throughout this country, that is trying to destroy everything that was ever good about the United States of America.
Like slavery and oppression of black people and Jim Crow, you know, all the good stuff, according to this guy.
And the Bill of Rights. There's no doubt about that. Our freedom was precious. Our freedom is no longer really at issue at all. We live in the most one of the most repressive. I mean, there's still North Korea.
Right, especially if you're like African American or indigenous or brown or an immigrant or LGBTQ people. Yes, you definitely live in one of the most oppressive societies on the planet.
In the entire world today, and it's worth comparing. It's worth thinking about the comparison. Which country was freer, the United States in 1860 or the United States today? That may seem a strange question to you, and especially the mob of people who's been beaten into a media frenzy by this whole concept that we're all Nazis out here. I mean, I deplore that concept. I ridicule it. I think it's a show. I think that this whole thing is...
it's not a show. The things that you're espousing are historically recognized as being fascist rhetoric. You're a fascist, dude.
Even counting the existence of chattel slavery. Which country was freer? United States in 1860 or the United States today? Today,
wow. Depends on if you're a white person. If you're white, it's pretty fucking free.
Then existed in the United States when the Constitution was adopted. We imprisoned more people per capita than any other country in the world, by far.
Yep. That's absolutely true.
Minorities, and that's an interesting point.
And that's absolutely true as well.
In essence, we are not anywhere close to being as free for any race.
Right. All thanks to capitalism. Profiting off of the slavery and the enslavement and of all these people in these record high prison rates.
Through a very slow but very progressive implementation of the Communist Manifesto.
Right. The Communist Manifesto is behind mass incarceration, not capitalism. And it's slow. It's been slow coming, even not the constant throughout American history, right?
However many policemen we've got out here today is, to my mind,
astounding.
A scandal.
It's a new thing. All of a sudden, this just happened, and it's the Communist Manifesto's fault. You have to ignore the entire history of capitalist oppression throughout the entirety of American history, the slavery and the genocide of indigenous people, and then Jim Crow, and now, you know, the what we call mass incarceration, which is just the perpetuation of slavery. But it's, you know, the Communist Manifesto did that, not a bunch of, you know, small cabal of wealthy fucking capitalists.
Right where Jason Kessler was talking about, the transformation took place with immediate post-war amendments to the Constitution in 1865, 1866, and 1868. That was the beginning of the trade-off. That was the beginning of the trade-off of security, and not just physical security, but economic security for liberty. And the implementation of the 14th Amendment through the courts and through the Congress is what has led us to where we are. One interesting thing.
Wow, that's such an astoundingly confused rewrite of history and the whole purpose of the 13th and 14th Amendment.
It wasn't just supposed to be a race. It is not articulated as a race-based amendment to the Constitution. Neither is that prohibition on slavery, except as punishment for a crime. Does anybody doubt that the 13th Amendment is what really gave rise to the prison industry in the United States.
I don't doubt that at all. I think that's exactly right.
It is the 14th Amendment that has created a situation where the courts can use the concepts of race to divide people against each other.
Well, that's a common canard from the right. You had me on the 13th Amendment exception clause, dude, but this 14th Amendment crap about, equalizing the vote for people is not. The only time it's a problem, the only people it's a problem for is people who are actually trying to push a racially oppressive agenda like you and Kessler. So yeah, the 14th Amendment causes problems for you.
Peaceful, friendly, multicultural, multiracial cities in the United States. That was never a land of hatred. And the black people and the white people of New Orleans cherished our history and enjoyed it tremendously.
Says the white guy, right? Says the white guy.
Situation where they denigrate the past, and yet they set it up as basically another communistic welfare program.
There's nothing to do with communism at all.
You will be better off if we
It has
destroy all these monuments. You will be better off if we forget history. You will be better off if we don't really understand the Constitution.
Nobody on the left wants to forget history. They just don't want shitheads like you glorifying a bunch of racist traitors and treasonous people who took arms against their fellow man so that they could own other people. So we want that history recorded correctly and understood correctly so that shitheads like you, white dudes, don't come out and say, black people and white people used to love the history and heritage of New Orleans.
Inequality right now is lawyers versus non-lawyers. And I say this with some authority. I am a disbarred lawyer.
You are a disbarred lawyer. Big surprise, right?
I'm a disbarred lawyer because I have been fighting for civil rights for
civil rights
who aren't supposed to have any, namely white people. Who ever told me that? Judges have told me that. FBI agents have told me that. The civil rights laws, as they are implemented, are designed to be black against white only, never white against the police.
No, it's geared towards whites being able to oppress black people. And if any of them try to speak up and defend themselves under that oppression, shitheads like you turn into snowflakes and want to accuse them of violating your civil rights to what? Be a racist fuck? But painted in real nice, flowery, disbarred lawyer words?
It is a betrayal
Exactly.
of the original 10 amendments to the Constitution. And the people who do most of this betrayal are, in fact, the lawyers and the judges in this country. And so I have 3 programs that I want to introduce to you. And
see, and that's the thing that's common with fascist and far-right people is you always got to find some other scapegoat. So for this guy, it's lawyers. The people who litigate this constitutional shit are the people who created the fucking problem, right? Not the capitalists, not the wealthy, 1% that has infiltrated all of the mechanisms of this stupid representative democracy. Okay? No, it's lawyers litigating and fighting it out underneath the mechanisms of this oppression. It's a diversionary tactic from the real problem.
Basically comes out of the Bible. It is a concept. Moses appointed one judge for every one of the 12 tribes of Israel.
Oh, okay, so now we're a theocracy?
It's a Middle Eastern model. We need to go to the European model of community decisions implemented by juries. 12-person juries are probably not even adequate. Maybe we need to go to a larger system of juries. The old New England townhouse, town council had judicial functions. The Viking Althing had judicial functions. Until very recently, England preserved part of this by the final court of appeal in England used to be the House of Lords, a group of elite decision makers. Thomas Jefferson originally believed that the constitutionality of any issue should be decided by the Senate. We need to go back to those issues. So point number one, abolish judicial immunity, because once you abolish judicial immunity and restore power to juries and the people, once you do that, the entire profession of law will become very different. It will become a class of specialists instead of a class of parasites.
Oh, okay, that's great. So, but what's that going to do to confront and undo the immense and massive power that capitalists have? We'll have new good lawyers.
What I want to point out is what Jason mentioned about how everybody in the right, from Trump on right, and I consider Trump a very moderate president. I don't.
Of course you do, because
radical
you're
at all.
Nazi
I
shit.
consider him the best president since Ronald Reagan. I don't see how a conservative could think otherwise. But he's not a radical conservative.
Not to far right, fascist, racist assholes like you. That makes complete sense.
There are people in the press here giving me dirty looks because I'm saying he's not a radical conservative. It's hilarious. In any event, the point is
hilarious.
That they want to not so much.
Okay, so yeah, the original stream that I grabbed cuts off right there, which is fine. I mean, this again, like this idea that it's all lawyers' faults. You know, it's the lawyers that, what is it? The lawyers that created all the massive multinational corporations. I mean, you could say that lawyers help like transform a lot of like Supreme Court perspectives on, you know, like money and speech and politics and all that kind of stuff. Like lawyers facilitated that process to where we now have Citizens United and all this kind of shit. But like, how is that lawyers' fault? I mean, it's lawyers litigating the oppressive laws and policies that wealthy, successful capitalists are trying to push on, you know, nations all over the world, not just in America, but lawyers. I mean, the guy's just got obvious issues because the fact that he's such an obvious racist scumfuck, he got disbarred, so he's just all like angry at the lawyers, you know. And it's easy. There's, you know, people don't like lawyers for a number of different reasons, and so it's an easy target for people. Yeah, he's right. The fucking lawyers, man. You know, pay no attention to, you know, the Goldman Sachs people, and pay no attention to Raytheon, and, you know, don't pay attention to what Sinclair Media is doing. It's the lawyers. And if we would just get some, you know, tort reform, all of this will go away and everything will be wonderful. It's ridiculous. Let's play some music.
Welcome to the condemnation.
I'm gonna tell you, fascists, you may be surprised. The people in this world are getting organized. You're bound to lose. You fascists bound to lose. You're bound to lose. You fascists bound to lose.
Big in the body, small in the mind. Yeah. Tell it like it is.
Racists cannot stop us. This one thing we know. Derivatives and hedge funds, greed has got to go. You're bound to lose. You fascists bound to lose. You're bound to lose. You fascists bound to lose. All of you fascists bound to lose.
Bound to lose.
All of you fascists
You
bound to
and
lose.
you.
All of you fascists bound to lose. Yes, you fascists bound to lose.
Losing. Politicians standing one step behind. Yeah.
Stinker, who has done a lot of good volunteer work for me to help make this event possible.
Okay, check the dude's name. I mean, people don't pick their birth name, but dude's just real unfortunate. Know what I mean?
I'm gonna let Al speak before it rains. Al Stink.
Hello, everybody. My name is Al Stankard.
Yep. His name is Al Stankard.
Harley Venison online.
So sorry, dude, that's your
It's
name.
funny, I could see so many.
I think it's probably
things about
true.
What I
I think you do stank hard.
are wrong with the world, but it's occurred to me that people, their brains are very limited and finite,
Oh.
and you have to unlock their hearts a little bit first
Right.
before you can get them to see the world as you perhaps see it.
From your racist,
I
skewed,
was a very
white privilege
bitter young
perspective.
man.
Right.
I
Gotcha.
think if I were 14 right now, I'd be far-fetched. I felt sort of suffocated under the crush of anti-white scapegoating.
Get
and
off me. It looks
rhetoric
like you're pushing him.
when I was younger. But then, as I got older, I got so I felt so bleak about it, and I realized that we need some sort of non-violent means of bringing humanity together and ending the identity politics, which call me crazy, but I think it is driving socioeconomic inequality in the U.S.
Right. All you righties think that, and it's a canard. Like,
smokescreen
identity
for
politics exists, but you blow it so out of proportion and turn it into such a ridiculous fucking boogeyman that you're fighting against something that doesn't exist. Literally doesn't exist. Not anywhere near the level you think it does. Stank hard.
But it is not so far from human nature. And so for me, I see an opportunity.
So you just said capitalism is not so far from human nature.
Stave off great catastrophe. I feel like our society is in a doom loop.
So,
These people
comrades,
over here,
hold down line.
Many of them are blindly
Fucking
hating
A.
us, and a small minority would gladly put a bullet in my head or Jason's head if they could. During inauguration, I was there. I was walking among the protesters, and I remember Richard Spencer randomly showed up, and I was there by sheer coincidence. And when the guy came and punched Spencer, I pulled him off, and I proceeded him on foot peacefully to try to challenge his ideas. I didn't punch him there. And I got death threats galore after that. Antifa,
We get death threats galore all the time too, man. Shut the fuck up.
They called my sister at her work while I was on a plane to Ecuador, and they said I was in a coma.
They? Who's they? On some fucking random plane to Ecuador?
And they
Your
were
sister? What are you even
teaching
talking
me
about, Holmes?
I can only assume to abduct her to get to me. My point here is that I see how severe things are and how blinded people are. And if they want to fix racism, they have to think a little bit about what racism is in 2018 in order to solve the problem. Like if
Wow.
you're stuck
Says
in a
the white
riptide
man.
getting pulled out to sea, you can't flail your arms maniacally. You have to pause and appreciate the situation and relax. Think
Relax.
about what's going on.
Relax.
If
You
you want
know,
to solve a physics problem,
cops are just
you don't
murdering
start
black
doing
people
that
every day.
immediately.
Relax.
You think about
Understand
what
race
problem
better.
you're modeling. And in my mind, the excesses of the scapegoating of whites, to repeat, is intended to draw attention away from the real problem. And it disheartens me to see that even while there's still some people who believe in a world without identity politics, like Bernie Sanders, even he is being pulled through the muck. And it's driving society apart. After inauguration, I was worried of civil war. I forgot about it for a year. And then
Okay, so for this guy, it's all identity politics. For the last guy, it was lawyers. Now this guy, identity politics is the big evil in the world. Now look, identity politics exists and in some very, like, dysfunctional ways, for sure, man. But, like, it would be far less dysfunctional, and I don't think there would even be much of an issue of identity politics were it not for capitalism exploiting identity and dividing us down essentially imaginary ethnic lines, and and then if the oppressed versions of that actually stand up for themselves and say, hey, we want equality under this capitalism-created identity politics divide spectrum, then those on top, like this kid, want to talk about how they're oppressed
Maybe they can understand.
and how we need to be educated.
I'm not a nationalist. I'm not even alt-right, to be honest.
You don't know what you
I
are.
believe that the scapegoating of whites is inaccurate on several levels.
Okay. Is that right?
Baffled stares. Okay. Who's next? Jovi? Okay.
Okay, I guess that was his big speech. Woo! The fucking identity politics is what causes all the ills and evil in the whole world.
I don't want thunderous applause.
Yeah.
I'll just introduce myself as Sam Hyde. Yeah.
Sam Hyde.
I have something to say.
I'm sure you
First
do.
of all, thanks to the New Jersey European Heritage Association for giving me such a great time here on the East Coast during my visit. I also want to thank the DC Police for the free VIP escort through the Capitol. This is my first time here. And I want to thank Antifa for giving us such a warm welcome. I hope they got something out of their system today. I'm thankful to live in a country where
Way to gaslight like a wide swath of
talk
people.
about controversial
Get
ideas.
something out of their system.
And the only thing that he needs is a legion of 10,000 highly armed guards. So
Yep, cops and clan, dude.
I want to say,
Maybe you should wake up and realize the reason that you need all these guards to come out for your free speech is because the masses of humanity are fucking totally opposed to you. We heard your shit, and we're coming out in every major city where you go,
if you want to ensure
outnumbering
the
you
integrity
10
of
to
our
1 and
society,
going,
probably
we heard, we don't give a fuck, fucking go
put
home.
our women in the workforce.
But you're like, no, we're going to come out and keep saying it. You're not winning numbers.
The lowest rate in history.
You're pushing an agenda that you are too ignorant to understand has been repeatedly and just numerous times debunked as
That's really a
being
priority right now,
incredibly dangerous, which leads to oppression
So that we,
and murder of millions.
then
No. But
be able
Dinesh
to justify
D'Souza
bringing
and
in
Ben Shapiro gave you the talking point that liberals are the real fascists somehow, and somehow the DNC platform is just like Hitler's. When it's a ridiculous back-asswards fucking lie. The right wing, what they're pushing, this alt-right people, this Kessler dude, and these idiots that he has as speakers, they don't know it, but they are pushing point for point the exact same rhetoric that fascists pushed on the street during the rise of Mussolini, during the rise of Franco, and these people, and on the right side of your screen, that are standing up for it, that's fucking Catalonia, man, right there. That's the goddamn Paris Commune. Okay, that's the civil rights movement. That's Martin Luther King right there. And back in the 60s, the fucking John Birch Society and all the fucking KKK pushed the same exact talking points that they do now. It was that Martin Luther King was a communist who was being, tricked by the Jews to trick all of these people into thinking, these African Americans, that somehow it was an injustice that they can't sit at a fucking restaurant and order a plate of food and a cup of coffee without being beat to shit and arrested and lynched. No, that was a communist agenda that they were tired of that happening to them. It's such bullshit. And it is the exact point-for-point agenda they're talking about now. Please watch the video that we put up. It's Conspiracy Chronicles. I believe it's part 1. There's a part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is the John Birch Society. And you'll hear it's the exact same talking points that, it's the communists and, of course, the Jews that are pushing this agenda, and of course all these black bloc, these anarchists and these socialists, these righteous fucking comrades right here are tricked that black people aren't actually, and brown people and LGBTQ people aren't actually oppressed in our society. They just need to vent and get some shit off their chest. It's so ridiculous. It's so offensive.
That's another thing that's really
and it
important.
allows the
You
oppression.
want people to fight for
Being
your
an
country
apologist and
protect
acting
them.
like
What you
this
should do
oppression
is
doesn't exist
dishonor
allows it to
previous generations
flourish.
of men
In
that
fact,
were
it
drafted
bolsters
and
it.
had to fight and die for this
It
country.
invigorates people to go out and brutalize other people because, oh, you triggered libtards don't know anything. You're the real fascist.
Can look forward to the disrespect and the displacement of our people in the future.
Displacement
That's
of your
going to create
people.
a really strong national character, I think.
Is that what you think? It's going to create
So,
real strong
if you
national
look into
character.
those few
The
things
mass.
for
Look at
us,
the right screen.
Dear Mr. President,
This is the
I
masses
think
responding
that
to your
help us out a
what
lot.
you think is going to happen
Appreciate
as you
the
tell it to
time.
4 or 5
Appreciate
fucking people
the
with
resources and
massive
effort that was
fucking
spent
cop
here
support to do so.
today to give us this opportunity to talk
Society
about
is telling
important
you, no, homie.
things. And
No.
with that, I bid you all good night.
Good. Go fuck yourself.
Sam, are you really that rabid for a goddamn picture? You're fucking despicable.
How's everybody doing? Great.
Get ready for Captain Brain Convention.
Look, I came out here to stand up for free speech. I will always stand for free speech. Not only will I stand for it, but I will fight for it. I don't care what race or religion you are, you have every right to speak in this country. But Jason made a valid point. There is a problem going on right now in America when people like him are being attacked when he wants to peacefully assemble in this country. Why?
Peacefully assemble. His last peaceful assembly got Heather Heyer murdered. Peaceful assemble. Fuck you, shitbag.
If every speaker on this stage was
Our
right,
street.
why should that bother me? Why should it bother you? I don't need to tell you what race I am. I don't need to tell you what gender I am. There's only 2, of course. I don't need to tell you what religion I am. I'll tell you one thing, though. I am an American. Are you an American? Do you love this country?
What does that
If you
even
love this
mean,
country,
dude?
Then you, sir, you, ma'am, are an
I didn't have any choice
and if
being
you're
an American.
white and you love
I
this
dropped out
country,
this
you're a white
on this
nationalist.
dirt
There's a big difference between
and was
white
labeled
supremacy
American.
and white nationalism.
That doesn't define
okay?
who I am. It's sad
You
that
have
it
to
defines
stop
who you are.
using that word to describe someone who you believe is a Nazi. And the reason why I say that is because there are Trump supporters out there. There are people on the right that are
all
politically
supporting
correct.
a horribly
And that's the
fascist
problem.
agenda.
If someone's a white nationalist, what's
He's a
the
fascist.
problem? They want to preserve their culture. White
And they're
supremacists
racist.
want their culture
Yeah,
to be
the problem
better.
is it's
Whether you
racist.
like it or not, whether you agree or disagree.
Whether I
It's
like it or not,
fair
that's right.
that
It's still
my
racist.
family can go back to the island and wave their flag and say that they're from this country and they're proud. But if somebody from here says they're proud to be an American and they're white, you label them a Nazi. That
Because
is
white doesn't
BS.
mean
And I
anything.
do not stand
White
around
does
with a
not
sign
mean
that says,
anything.
"Blacks for
French
Trump,
is not the same as
Latinos for Trump,
Swedish.
Jews for Trump, Christians
You
for
know,
Trump."
Hungarian
I don't
is not
stand
the
with that
same
because
as
if a
Czech.
white man can hold a sign that
Okay.
says whites for Trump,
Spanish
why
is
should I
not
hold
the
a sign
same
that says Latinos
as,
for
you
Trump?
know,
And guess what?
Swedish
This is
or
probably the most
Norwegian,
diverse
all right?
crowd,
Each of these
if
have
that's the way you
different,
wanna put it,
incredibly
than that crowd
distinct,
out there.
vastly different
I've been
cultures.
yelled at by
There's
so
no such
many
thing as
liberals.
white.
They're not even liberals. I don't know where they're at right now.
I'm Scottish.
They're on the
I
left.
like getting
But I'm
up in
telling
my
you this
Scottish
right now,
kilt
okay?
and my
I
tartan
don't
and
care
going to the
what
Robert
race you
Burns
are.
dinner
You have every
and boldly
right to get on the
celebrating
stage
my
and
family's
speak your
Scottish
piece.
heritage.
If
I'm
you are
also
hosting
Mexican,
free speech
so I have
this goes to the Trump
on my
supporters.
father's
There's
side
no
of the
reason
family,
why
and we
you
celebrate
exclude
our
people
heritage on that
because
side
you
of the
don't
family
agree
in
with
all
the
kinds of
message.
distinct ways.
I
There's
do
no
free
problem
speech
with
rallies.
celebrating
I do
where your
open mic
heritage is
rallies.
from.
You are allowed
But
to
this
get on the
concept
stage
of
and
white
speak your piece
does not exist.
anytime.
It does
We do
not
this in New
exist.
York
It's a
City,
fabrication.
okay?
You
We
can't
make it
coalesce
happen.
around,
And I don't care
you know,
what weather it is.
Swedish
I've spoken
people
thunder
and Bulgarian
rain
people being
and
exactly
mud.
the same
I
because
treaded
they're
through
fucking
it, but
ridiculously
no matter
not
how
the
much
same.
mud I tread through, they will not
They're just not
tread
brown people.
on me, and they will not tread on you.
Nobody wants to
Wake
tread on
up,
you, Holmes.
America, we are standing right next to the White House. This man is our president, and he's going to be our president
Fascist.
until 2024 because of people like that. Donald Trump is your president. But that does not mean
Accept it. Be a
Make America
bootlicker.
Great Again
You know,
dies
he's your
when Donald Trump is
president.
not
You
your
just have to shut the
president.
fuck
We will
up
keep
and
it
do
carrying
whatever
on.
because
I'm
he's
from
president
New York
now.
City.
Accept
We have
it.
MAGA NYC,
It's not being a
and we're gonna keep doing
bootlicker.
this. I don't care how many people told me not to come. I came today for a reason. I traveled all the way from Vegas just to come here and speak to you guys, okay? And I'm gonna make it happen any way I can, and we're gonna do it together.
What happened?
All right? And it's such a shame because the only time I see predominantly white groups is the Black Lives Matter rallies, the Antifa protests, these feminazis or whatever you want to call them. It's ridiculous. You know, this is a very diverse group. But then again,
the only time there is ever violence at street actions and rallies is when the alt-right is there. The left is constantly out on the street organizing huge rallies and huge demonstrations that never have violence, ever. But every time the alt-right shows up, there's violence. Always. Always. Always on your side. So every time you come out, you see violence, so you think that the left is always violent. But we hold marches and demonstrations in the hundreds of thousands regularly all over this fucking country, and there's never violence at them. And then you idiots point to a couple broken windows and maybe a torched limousine and call that violence, which it's not. It's property damage. This notion of the violent left is fucking ridiculous. The only time there is ever violence at a street action is if the alt-right is there. And if the alt-right is there, there will be violence. If the alt-right is not there, there will not be violence.
Everybody who's in here right now,
anyone that was at the instantaneous airport demonstrations when Trump first tried to put his Muslim ban in place, you'll know there was zero violence at any of those. The women's marches, zero fucking violence. The Families Belong Together marches, zero fucking violence. All the Refuse Fascism's national call for impeachment last year, no fucking violence. The only time there's violence is when it's organized by a goddamn fascist like this motherfucker Kessler. And the only reason there's not violence right now is because there's only 10 fucking fascists and it looks like, I don't know, 1,000 or so anti-fascists, which anti-fascist just means normal person who has a basic cursory understanding of history. That's all it means. Let's play some music.
On a polished floor, redheads gathered at the liquor store. Pure hearts race on a crystal night. Everybody grab a torch to light. Everybody needs somebody. Join the party. The kids are armed right today. Do-si-do. Populism is a sold-out show. Humanity is a nowhere scene, when everybody has an AR-15. Everybody needs somebody. Join the party. The kids are armed right today.
Can I just state as a sort of just personal like if you come out and wear a vest like that, To me, you look like a cop. I don't know. I've been seeing that recently. Where like, I don't know who that is. It's wearing these weird vests, and yeah, the cops wear that shit. I don't trust you when you're wearing a lime green vest. I'm just saying. I don't care who you are. You come out in some fucking lime green vest, I instantly think you're a cop, and I'm kind of triggered. Like that's for real. I don't understand that, and I've only seen it recently, and I don't know why people are doing that. Please stop with the like hall monitor vests and shit. Okay, you look like cops. You might be righteous as fucking on my side and on our side and everything and whatever, but I like instantly don't trust you when I see those things. Just saying, man. See, I mean, that was a big cop line with a bunch of the same vests that look like shit I see leftists wearing. I just don't get it. Super impressive. I mean, what an incredible turnout. Way to go, DC. Straight up, way to go, DC. All the way around. Fucking prepared. That's what I'm talking about. Got the block up front, knowing what the fuck is up. Backed by all the citizens of that community. That's the way you're supposed to respond to these fucking fascists. Don't be afraid of this black bloc. Let them up front. Let them take the lead. Stand behind them in mass numbers, and there won't be issues, man. It'll be the ridiculous, laughable blowout that this is. Kessler and his fucking 5 or 8 buddies. No violence. No bullshit. There would have been no violence, no bullshit in Berkeley and Portland this last week as well if it had not been for cops opening fire on exactly what these people are doing on the right side of your screen. Standing there with signs, walked up, got their mask, whatever, their flags. They're not fucking hurting anybody. They're chanting, standing firm. No cops are opening fire on them. You know, and the right sees this as some type of like suppression of their free speech. But Kessler and his disbarred lawyer, racist friend, and his other sycophantic buddies that got to speak at this because they had his back all year, you know, they're met with a resounding "fuck off, we don't care about your shit." They see that as oppression. Well, the cops came out en masse, obviously spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to protect your right to do that bullshit. You're not oppressed. But it's important because when people look back at this period, they don't. I would like future generations not to look back and go, look at the Americans. They were exactly like the good Germans. No, I want them to see, no. People came out in mass numbers and said, fuck this shit. You can pretend to be all patriots in America and the Constitution, but you don't understand the Constitution at all. And when you do quote it, you quote it out of context and get it all wrong. And you need to be called out on this shit. Because history is going to look back on this moment. And were we good fucking Germans? No, we weren't. Only a handful of us were. And it's terrifying because these 10 idiots have a president that's on their side right now. But getting rid of that president isn't going to make this go away. Only sustained action like this from the left is going to... It's not over even if Trump's gone. It has to be a unified... Get over being scared of socialists and anarchists and communists. Fucking get over it. Us anarchists and communists will have our disputes and our fights later when the revolution actually comes, okay? You know, just for the record. But, you know, these are not dangerous people who are this boogeyman that the right wants to make it all out to be. And you'll hear them. They're chanting, "Go home, Nazis, go home." And they're, you know, some of these people on the right, they're just not Nazis, but they're fascists. And in one way or another, they're bigots. Okay? And so, no, I mean, if you want to get technical, when we shout, "Go home, Nazis, go home," it's not 100% accurate, but they're fascists. I wish we would just say fascism and bigot. Stay away from racism, because some of them aren't racist. I mean, they might be sexist or homophobic, or maybe they're not homophobic, but they're racist. Like, they're just bigoted in one way or another. And they're fascist. They would never tell you they're fascist because they don't believe they're fascist, because they don't fucking understand history at all, and they can't recognize their talking points in the rhetoric of Mussolini, and Franco, and Pinochet. And because they don't understand history and can't recognize that, we seem crazy. We call them Nazis, and they're like, "I don't hate Jews, so how am I a Nazi?" And now there we are in the weeds. But the bottom line is they're fascists in one way or another, and that gets right up close to being a Nazi, because Hitler supported all the different fascists. They don't understand. And they think they're victims, and we're so confused. But we're not. We recognize this asshole right here for exactly what he is. Whether he recognizes it in himself or not really doesn't matter. Jason Kessler's a fascist. Straight up. And he got 8-9 friends to come out and back his fascist bullshit. Police escort, his own goddamn train, his fucking own van there and back, so he could stand there and spew that fucking 15 minutes of crap that they just said. Great. And they do this and talk about their free speech being under attack.
Keep going back, man.
Keep going back.
Keep going back.
A week ago, a dude that wore a vest just like that opened fire on the people who were expressing their free speech in response to your fucking fascist comrades, Kessler. There is free speech under attack, but it's on the left. It's the true speech of the true left that's under attack. You have fucking fascist, jackbooted fucking support. Look at you.
He's over there. Robert out there. One more. Get in, Brandon. Robert in here.
Join the protection of the state for your free speech. Which I don't necessarily have a fucking problem with. Just quit acting like it's under attack and you're some kind of fucking victim. Look at this shit.
Watch you.
It's taxpayer paid for transport right there.
I'm gonna get. Oh, sorry. Oh, I forgot my equipment.
Girl, you get through here.
Down.
Finish up. Kevin and I have 2 different shots.
Hey, what do you say?
I do have to really give it up for I Spy live streams. That's who is doing this live stream. The way they're able to mine the mine the web to find all these different streams and clip them into one. I actually tried to do that today, but I'm a tech frickin' moron and I don't have any idea really what I'm doing. I tried to get up and some encoder stuff installed so I could do that, and I couldn't. Maybe if anybody knows and wants to take the time to comment, I did watch a couple tutorial videos and try to be able to do it. I've been trying, so we'll get there eventually here at Bugs for Progress in Janky Land. But these guys just did a great job, or people did a great job of just clicking around and finding the right stuff that made this really sort of broad, sort of kind of all-encompassing coverage of the event. And then, sorry you had to deal with my bubble-labbing. But, I mean, I played some cool songs, right? Yeah. I like this song. go. See? I take it back. There was violence. You know, by cops. Property damage. There you go. Just walk up, put your hands on some people just standing there, pigs. See, that's assault. That's assault from the pigs. Meathead motherfuckers. Guess what? The people don't like you pigs. Fucking get over it. Stay up, comrades. Good job. That's right. Restore that shit.
Let him out! Let him out!
Please don't chant that this is what democracy looks like. Bullshit. This is not what democracy looks like. No, it isn't. This is what fucking fascism looks like. And then we gotta come out and go no to it. This is not what democracy looks like. Please stop chanting that shit. No, got no problem with true direct democracy. And just because our democratic republic supposedly protects free speech doesn't mean that this is what democracy looks like. And a lot of these people, that's a lot of red and black flags. There's a lot of socialists and anarchists and communists out there. They're not marching for fucking democracy. At least not anything approaching what you people chanting that think democracy is. It's just true democracy. Consensus. Back in the state-sponsored transport, the state-sponsored free speech is under attack mobile. Who are the cops facing off against? The left. Whose free speech is under attack? That's fine. You fucking fascists want to come out and spew your shit. The masses should be allowed to spew it back. And for the most part, it looks like they're being allowed to. We did see some brutalization from the pigs. Thankfully, not on the level we saw in Portland and Berkeley this last week. And right now it's 3:30 Pacific time. The live stream I'm talking over finished roughly 2:30 Pacific time. So things could change this evening. I don't know. But the only violence I saw in a number of live streams was perpetuated by police against the left. Protecting the free speech of whiny-ass right-wing fascists talking about their free speech being under attack. It's the same fucking shit they've been saying for 2 years. My free speech, my free speech. Okay, well, what's your free speech? Social justice warriors suck. The lawyers suck. Great. Scapegoat this group, scapegoat that group, blah, blah, blah. We're victims.
I heard I had quarters and dimes and nickels thrown at me.
So did I.
Yeah, I picked them up though.
The reason fascists aren't boldly plowing through the streets of D.C. and Charlottesville like they did a year ago is because they're not emboldened. Because the masses came out and said, try it, motherfucker. So they didn't. Last year in Charlottesville, they were walking all through the streets of Charlottesville just brutalizing people with impunity. And they knew it. This time they knew otherwise. Because the masses came out and demonstrated.
Hey, open that second door.
Notice that the Black Bloc has done nothing to anybody and has hurt anybody and has done nothing violent in any of these streams. They were attacked by pigs for a moment and held their shit with composure. When the masses come out and demonstrate against the right, there's not violence. When they don't, the right feels emboldened. They talk a lot of shit. They push people to the breaking point and antagonize and do everything they can to create a fucking scene. And they get it usually. That's what we saw, you know, a year ago, year and a half ago. When we saw all those demonstrations, you can see all the videos on our channel from Berkeley and so on. When the masses come out, it's nonviolent. And we're telling history after us. We won't tolerate this fucking bullshit. Straight up.
Version of the neo-Nazi movement?
It's Pepe's becoming an